Claude's architecture has shifted toward an agentic model, allowing the system to navigate multi-step workflows and execute task sequences directly within its environment. You've likely seen the hype online about building zero-coding AI employees. But if you talk to actual developers, they'll quickly warn you about the severe risks of letting an AI execute local scripts on your machine. That's the core dilemma we have to navigate today: the gap between the promise of complete automation and the technical friction required to actually achieve it safely. This diagram outlines the Claude automation stack. It breaks down into 3 distinct tiers, defined entirely by your current technical capability. At the base is the native web UI. Working here requires zero coding and zero configuration. The middle tier introduces app connectors, operating via the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. You'll need to handle basic API authentication, but you still won't be writing any code. At the peak is the local environment. This requires real technical literacy, deploying terminal commands and strictly managing the scripts executing on your computer. If you fail to accurately match your technical reality to the correct tier, you will end up with deeply broken systems or expensive software subscriptions that sit unused. Let's start at the base tier, which is built for the everyday knowledge worker operating purely inside a standard web browser. The primary utility here is driven by artifacts. These are isolated workspaces for your code or text documents that open up right next to your main chat thread. Getting this running takes minimal effort. You just enable the feature in your settings and feed the system stylistic preferences so it knows how you want things to look. The immediate payoff is that you receive clean, properly formatted outputs without cluttering your conversational feed with massive walls of text. But there is a hard structural limit to this setup. Every piece of data you generate is completely siloed within that specific browser session. Because the session cannot talk to your outside apps, you have to manually copy and paste your external data back into Claude every single time a variable changes. The walled garden provides frictionless ideation, but its lack of persistence means it simply cannot replace true automation tools. For solo operators and marketers, static browser tabs usually aren't enough. You need a connected digital workspace. The middle tier bridges the gap using the Model Context Protocol to connect Claude to third-party applications. Setup involves friction. You must actively authenticate APIs and configure read-write permissions. This enables live artifacts that autonomously pull fresh data into your workspace. Financially, this means a single connected dashboard can replace multiple expensive SaaS analytics subscriptions. But there is a real risk here. Granting an AI read access to your private business communications introduces the potential for the system to hallucinate and execute automated actions on your behalf. Operating in the connected workspace requires a trade-off. You concede a degree of privacy and endure initial configuration time in exchange for massive operational leverage. That brings us to the final tier, which takes place entirely on a developer's local machine, inside their terminal and codebase. Using the Claude Code command line interface grants the AI full read and write access to your local operating system. The architecture relies on agent skills, highly specific, deterministic execution scripts formatted as markdown files. The technical barrier to entry here is steep. You have to navigate terminal installations and manually configure these files to strictly dictate how the AI behaves. This diagram illustrates progressive disclosure. It's how Claude saves on token costs, by keeping instructions dormant and only loading them when a task is explicitly triggered. When these background routines execute perfectly, they can compress hours of repetitive technical tasks into a few seconds of autonomous activity. This setup allows a single operator to maintain complex technical outputs for the cost of a standard $20 monthly subscription. But running community-built skills without thoroughly auditing the code exposes your machine to malicious local network calls and data exfiltration. The local agent tier is the closest equivalent to hiring a digital employee, but it demands rigorous sandbox security and advanced technical literacy to deploy. So, how do you map these features to your specific business needs? Maximum productivity comes from a very simple rule. Align your technical comfort level with the infrastructure debt you are actually willing to maintain. This flowchart maps out the decision. Your first question is, do you need your data to auto-update without manual copy-pasting? If your answer is no, you belong in Tier 1. This is perfect for knowledge workers focused entirely on isolated drafting and ideation. If you answered yes, follow the flowchart down to your second decision point. Are you comfortable managing terminal commands and local files? If not, your destination is Tier 2. Marketers can use connectors to build automated dashboards without ever touching code. If you are comfortable managing local files, you arrive at Tier 3. This is built strictly for developers and technical operators, capable of managing local environments securely. Chasing maximum automation without the necessary technical foundation will ultimately break your workflow. True operational leverage is achieved by mastering the tier you actually belong in.